Tonight brings you the $125,000 Molson Golden Bowling Challenge from the Rose Bowl lanes in Windsor, Ontario. Tonight's telecast is being brought to you by Columbia 300, by your neighborhood True Value hardware stores. Here's a look at tonight's matches in the opening game. Two of the top rookies on the tour, Purvis, Granger, and Rod Pasteur. They'll face off. The winner of that match, of course, against powerful Jim Pencak. The number 2 bowler, Tom Milton, looking for title number 4. And bowling out of the number 1 position this evening, Don Genalo out of Perrysburg, Ohio. Hello, everybody. I'm Denny Schreiner, and welcome to the Rose Bowl lanes in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, for the finals of the $125,000 Molson Golden Bowling Challenge. Normally, hockey is the number 1 sport in Canada, but Mike Durbin, you might have a tough time convincing the bowling fans who showed up at Rose Bowl lanes here this week of that very question. The bowling was outstanding, 5 perfect games, but once again tonight, Mike, a varied cast of performers on the telecast.
It seems, Dan, that the PBA lane maintenance crew has created a type of condition that brings a lot of shots to the forefront, as illustrated by tonight's show. Tonight we have 2 players on our telecast that throw the ball relatively straight and kind of stroke the ball. We've got one player who would be known kind of as a cranker. We've got another right-hander that hooks it a lot but throws it rather slow. And we've got a left-hander on the telecast. But what is even more interesting, I think, is this is the 6th consecutive week that we've had a rookie make our top 5 telecast. In fact, this may be, in 1986, the best crop of rookie bowlers that we've had in the history of the PBA. In our opening match, we're going to get a look at 2 of these top rookies. And in 5th place tonight is Purvis Granger. 3 weeks ago, we saw Purvis finish 3rd as he lost to the eventual champion Dave Houston. In that match, he only bowled 188. Tonight, I think he'll be a little more relaxed. I think he'll be a little more confident. I'm looking for a better showing out of Purvis Granger tonight.
And continuing that note on the kiddie core out here on the PBA Tour, Rod Pasteur. 2 weeks ago, he nearly won his first PBA title.
2 weeks ago, he finished 2nd. He won 3 matches, came from 4th all the way up to 2nd. We watched him at that time. He's a 5-step player, left-handed player, keeps the ball relatively straight, throws the ball with a slow speed. A couple weeks ago, he used that slow speed to carry in critical situations, but in the championship match, he got slower and slower and slower. So tonight, if he can keep that speed up, maybe he can win his first PBA title.
We've already briefly mentioned the 2 rookies on the telecast this evening, but 3 veterans making their first appearance on the telecast this summer.
Jim Pencak in 3rd place, making his first telecast. Tom Milton, who's kind of a big hooker from the right side. And our tournament leader, who already has won once this year, Don Genalo. He's very tough in that number 1 position, has a 4-1 record from that spot.
All of these bowlers have performed well this week, and they'll all shop for a title here this evening in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. Coming up, the opening match, Purvis Granger and rookie Rod Pasteur. Would you believe that Purvis Granger and Rod Pasteur are roommates, Mike Durbin?
I wonder why they were smiling so much there.
Well, they've had a great time this week, and now they'll have to match up against one another. And, well, I wonder if the winner will go back and celebrate at the hotel this evening. Opening shot, opening match, and it's a wide-angle shot for Rod Pasteur. Mike Durbin, he is living dangerously, playing, what, the 1 or 2 board out there?
I asked him what his target was, Dan, and he said he was looking at 2.5, and that ball is getting perilously close to the edge or the first board, about 35, 40 feet down the lane.
Without a doubt, 2 of the top rookie performers on the PBA Tour here in 1986. Both of these players making it to the championship finals a couple of times here in the last month. First offering for Purvis Granger looked like he might have pulled it just a little bit, Mike, and got away without a split.
Just a 4-7. Had good firm speed, and that's probably why it held and didn't quite go as high as it might have.
Last night, Purvis beat Ted Hannes 235-181 in the position round game to edge veteran Johnny Petraglia by 1 stick to jump from 7th to 5th for the finals this evening.
1 pin. Look back over 42 games. There's sure a lot of places you can find 1 pin.
It was funny because I had dinner with Johnny after the position round game last night. I said, John, did you throw away any pins this week that you can remember? And he said, not one, not intentionally anyway.
Well, then he has no regrets.
Well, I'm sure he slept well last night. Finished 6th. Yeah, it's an interesting story. Also this week, Mike, Purvis, Granger, and Rod Pasteur crossed together in the qualifying rounds, and for a while, Pasteur was having trouble, and Purvis had speeded up a little bit. He did, ended up leading the tournament.
He winds up beating him today. He's going to maybe think he'll keep his mouth shut as Purvis gets a can opener strike.
Well, they were smiling to start this match, but Granger, I think, walking off the approach that time, letting Rod know, hey, this is for keeps right now.
There we see Rod Pasteur's earnings for 1986. He's over $21,000. A win today would put him right in the driver's seat for that Rookie of the Year. Boy, did he throw that ball nice.
The fans have been outstanding here at the Rose Bowl lanes this week,
And they were oohing and eyeing that time. That ball was on about the 3 board with what, like 15 feet left on the lane?
But what I noticed the way he threw that ball is his thumb came out so clean and the fingers just lifted it really crisply. The ball had a nice even roll all the way down the lane.
Rod averaged 218.6 for his 42 games this week. Had a high game of 290, low game of 171. Bowling out of Miami, Florida.
Boy, the TV really bothers him, doesn't it, Dan?
He is the most unaffected rookie I think I've ever seen on television, with the exception perhaps of Mike Albee.
Mike Albee,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, he's cool as a cucumber, always has been.
Yeah, Mike Albee walked out at age 19 and defeated Earl Anthony for a major title at PBA National. So, but this kid is just as cool.
Purvis, Granger could cut the lead to 10, but Pasteur has started with 3 solid pocket strikes.
Trying for a double. Oh, he's responded. Now we see that look of determination on Purvis Granger's face. He better be determined. There we see the score, 30-20, 10-pin difference. Purvis can even the match with one more right now on lane 41.
Both of these young pros, outstanding match play head-to-head competitors and bowlers this week. Purvis posting a 15-9 match play mark.
And you notice he took a little extra time there, Dan. He's really collecting his thoughts. He knows this is an important shot already early in the match.
Bowling out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Needs a strike badly to stay tight here in the early go, and he swishes the rack. Just a beautiful swishing strike on lane 41. So Granger comes back with a double, and he evens up the match through 4. And there you see it, a check worth $25,000. Nobody's name on it at this point, but Rod Pasteur perfect through 3 frames. He's got an outside chance. The true value, folks, $25,000.
And we get a look at 2 of the swings of the 2 of the top rookies on the PBA Tour right now. Purvis Granger, watch his swing come a little bit behind his right hip there, left arm out for balance. In contrast, Rod Pasteur's swing is fairly straight all the way through. That's right in line with his target. If I had to choose between the 2, I like Pasteur's a little bit better. But they're both producing the right results. That's the important thing, the bottom line.
Well, they really are. What a race for Rookie of the Year. Mark McDowell, John Adrabine, and also Tony Westlake. Those 5 players are really in a race. Can Pasteur stay perfect? Yes, he can. Through 4 frames, and they've all 4 been flush.
What's interesting is Purvis Granger now, this is his 2nd game on national television, as we see the parents, Reggie and Gloria Pasteur, Reginald, I guess it is, not
right.
Reggie. But anyway, back to the other point, that this is Purvis Granger's 2nd game on national television. In the last game, he bowled Dave Houston, who went spare 11 in a row, and now Pasteur is off with 4 in a row. He's looking at, what, 15 strikes in a row.
Purvis may be a candidate for the Steve Nagy Nice Guy Award here before this is all over. I mean, come on. After a while, you got to sort of wonder.
Oh! Boy, he sure threw it well.
Started out of the box with 4 straight, and almost a perfect shot there.
Well, it was perfect. It's just not his fault that they didn't all fall down. A very smooth style of Pasteur, and it'll go solid in the 1-2 pocket. You watch your 4 pin, 2nd from the left, and See how low that pin stayed, and it never even got close to the 7. See if he can make the spare.
The last player I saw play the ditch like that was probably Earl Anthony, don't you think, from the left side?
Well, a number of players have been excellent from that ditch. Steve Cook is awful good for banking that one board sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but Earl Anthony could play any angle. I love to watch Cook play the gutter. He would dip a few in now and then.
Yeah, but when you throw all those strikes, you can get away with a gutter ball once in a while.
He led the Firestone Tournament of Champions one year, and I think he threw 11 gutter balls during the course of the week.
Wow. So. And I think he led it by 300 pins, didn't he, or something like that?
Yeah.
Purvis Granger back to work on lane 42 here at the Rose Bowl Lanes in Windsor, Ontario.
And he can take the lead with a strike here. And knocks that 10 right out of there.
Mike, when you look at these young players, kind of makes you feel good about retiring a little bit, doesn't it?
How did you read my mind? Watch the 6-pin, second from the right here. As it goes to the sideboard, it comes back and nudges that 10 right out of there. What I'm really seeing as I come out here every week right now, Dan, is truly this is the changing of the guard. These younger players are saying, hey, you veterans, move aside. It's time for our day.
A tribute to the regional programs throughout the country for the PBA, provided by the PBA. Purvis Granger made $11,000 bowling in the regional program.
And so did Rod Pasteur.
That's right.
Rod Pasteur's won 3 regional titles.
It's the minor leagues, I guess, for the PBA National Tour.
Yeah, it's a proving ground.
Tremendous experience.
Granger up by 1, can increase it to 11. Oh, is he going to get a break? Well, he got a break to get 9, but he almost got a strike out of it.
He really throws the ball very slowly, doesn't he, Mike? Not much speed at all on Granger's shot.
Watch the ball come in light. He's going to clean out everything. And the head pin goes to the sideboard and almost had enough impetus to come back and get the 2-pin. Should be a relatively easy spare at the 2-pin. And not solid, but he made it.
Covers it up, and believe it or not, this match is dead even Steven. Granger with 129 through 5, and Pasteur with 109 through 4 with a spare up in the 5th.
And our viewers at home are getting a chance to see why these two kids are candidates for Rookie of the Year. Boy, they're just not afraid at all. Another excellent shot, soft 7-pin. What you do in a situation like that is you just simply keep throwing that ball in the 1-2 pocket, and they're going to fall. This time you'll see contrast, the 4-pin goes to the sideboard and dies in the channel. The difference was that he didn't have the same amount of lift to give life to that 4-pin to come out of the channel and get the 7.
Mike, when you're playing a severely wide angle, do you tend to leave more corner pins because there's a little less room for error on the ball?
Well, I think as you come in behind the head pin like that, you'll leave a lot of 7 pins if you're a left-hander, and you leave a lot of 10 pins if you're a right-hander. But the advantage to that extreme outside angle from either side of the lane is the light hit. Carries high percentage of the time when you come in light in that 1-2 or 1-3 pocket.
The interesting note is that Pasteur, believe me, did not play out on the ditch, out near the gutter throughout the entire tournament, but that's where the best reaction is for the telecast this evening. Just give you an idea of how the pros have to move around to find the best shot.
Let's get something going again. A little high, doesn't break up the split. 4-7-10, his first ball out of the 1-2 pocket, and he's got a very difficult split to make. A little bit right of his target here. The ball cuts right through the heart of the pins. He gets no break in knocking the 10-pin out of there. He's got to hit the 4-pin thin, and he's going to go for it here. Try and slide it across into the 10. Doesn't do it. He's open, and he falls further behind.
So Purvis Granger, who finds himself sitting on the bench, ends up now with a 15-pin lead. This match has turned around as of sorts. Rod Pasteur started with a 4-bagger and led by as many as 20, but Purvis Granger, Mike Durbin, has fought back, and now he leads by 15.
And now can really put a couple nails in Pasteur's coffin if he can increase that lead to 25 by getting strikes in the 7th and 8th.
Purvis, the youngest player on tonight's telecast, a tender 22, but a wealth of experience already.
left the 2, 4, 5, 8, the dinner bucket, and he was running it out. He thought the ball would finish, and it didn't quite make it in.
You're right. When he let it go, he started to run it out just a little bit and thought the better of it after he watched the reaction.
Which indicates that something was errant in his release. And there we see it. The head pin went right around the 2 in order to get a strike. That 1 pin's got to hit the 2. Tough spare here. All kinds of ways to miss this, and he needs to make this to maintain his lead. Perfectly.
Solid spare shot for Purvis, Granger. Just 3 weeks ago, Purvis made the televised finals in the Miller Lite Challenge, and I asked him what he learned from that performance on television.
Well, hopefully I won't get 11 strikes thrown at me like I did last time I was on the show. I'm going to try to relax a little more. I was a little nervous and everything, took things a little bit too serious, so I'm out here just to have a good time and shoot the best score I can.
It looks like he's enjoying himself thus far. Why not? He leads by 11.
And earlier in the week, he lost to Rod Pasteur, so trying to get a little revenge here against his roommate. Breaks down the dinner bucket again, leaves the 2-5. The speed has increased just a little bit, it looks like.
Is that because his adrenaline might be pumping a little bit, Mike? He's normally better when he arcs it and keeps the ball slow and gets lots of roll.
Yeah, it can either be the adrenaline is pumping a little bit, or he realizes he's got that lead and he's playing a little protective rather than aggressive. At the 2-5, and has it.
Well, 2 tough spare conversions as Purvis waves goodbye to that last spare effort. And he makes both of them, which is really a key. It's interesting because Rod Pasteur, before the telecast this evening, talked about the fact that he really has to concentrate on making spares. He feels that's a key, and Purvis has done that this evening.
Right now, Rod Pasteur needs to make strikes. Down by 9 pins. Boy, suddenly he's got the 7-pinitis, and 3 seemingly perfect shots have left 7 pins and 1 errant shot a split. Not much that he can do about it.
There isn't when you throw a shot like that. After starting off the week in 13th place, Rod Pasteur then took the lead in rounds 2 and 3, dropped to second after 4 rounds, third after 5, and then fourth after last night's final 8-game block. But solid all week long here in this tournament. He feels that it's his tournament. Nearly runs by the 7-pin, but he made it nevertheless. Also, I asked Rod, and he made a telecast just 2 weeks ago, what he learned and how he would, well, improve for this week's telecast.
I think the last time I was on television, I needed to make my spares so that my matches would not go to the 10th frame. And in the title match, I needed to be a little bit more aggressive than I was. And hopefully today, if I can get to the title match, I will be.
Right now, Dan, he's trailing by 9 pins and needs a strike desperately here in the 9th frame, foundation frame, to set up the 10th. Plus to keep that deficit under 10. A little more speed this time. And another bad break. Trips the 6 out of there and leaves the 8.
So Pasteur, who really has only made 1 errant shot, might have thrown another 3 or 4 strikes if he had any luck going.
Right. That's the sport of bowling, though. Needs to make this spare. If he does, he'll be down by exactly 10 pins.
Rod's parents, Reginald and also Gloria. Interesting note, with 2 games left to go in match play last night, they left the airport in Miami and started to fly north. They had that much confidence in son Rodney.
They probably watched him bowl a lot. I'll tell you, I'd have confidence after I watched him for a while, too.
And by the time they landed, he had qualified number 4. Purvis Granger now steps up with a 10-pin lead in the 9th and has a possible 243.
And the match is in Purvis's hands right now. Really swung that one wide. Boy, he's opened the door. The 1-2-10 washout. If he fails to convert this, he's going to fall behind.
Now that, Mike Turbin, would be considered a rookie mistake.
Well, it's not just a rookie. I made mistakes like that. It's just, it's not performing well in the clutch situations. It's just that simple. He needed to make an excellent shot there. He played a little bit defensive and made a poor shot.
We'll need to try and pick up the washout.
That's the thing about the sport of bowling. You can recover on that next shot, but he didn't. He's open and he's going to fall behind. Four pins he trails by now, and he looks up at the score. He's counting it up, and he's probably mad at himself right now. He's still potential 219. If he can strike all the way out. He needs to regroup, get himself back together, and get this first strike in the 10th frame.
If he would strike out, then he would also force Pasteur to double.
Correct.
To win the match. Pressure squarely on his shoulders on the left-hand lane. Didn't take much time. And what an outstanding shot under the pressure here, the opening shot in the 10th frame.
Well, see, it's a situation where the worst has already happened. He opened in that 9th frame, and that's, you know, he was trying to protect the lead. He's blown it now. He's more relaxed now than he was when he got up in the 9th frame, even though he needs a strike now to regain the lead.
Many times, I think the bowling fans that watch the national shows don't realize how you go up and down emotionally with every match that you bowl.
It's a roller coaster existence out there, that's for sure. To take the lead, this is the one. Ooh, something I heard was either a microphone or something, but Purvis heard it also, and he stopped. That's hard to do, and then regroup. He was ready to throw that shot. It's going to be really difficult for him to get it back together now to make this shot to take the lead.
Well, that's an unfortunate circumstance. Crowd was dead silent, and out of nowhere, right in about his 3rd step, he was interrupted. Clutch shot for Purvis. Granger gives it a good spin, runs it out, checks him up, and he still comes up with a big strike in the 11th, and that was a key shot in this match.
That's the famous Dick Weber wall shot there. Dick Weber made his living on for so many years. That head pin goes to the wall and cleans out the 4-5-7.
You mean Weber used to never really throw it flush in the pocket, Mike?
Well, he would throw it flush too,
once in a while,
but he
probably if he pulled it, right?
Definitely carried his share of wall shots. And if you're watching out there, Richard, how are you?
There were a lot of guys that would have given their right arms to figure out how to get that wall shot when they needed it.
I'm one of them.
So Purvis Granger, if he strikes here, would shoot .219, and he's put the pressure back on his roommate, and he does. So 3 big shots in the 10th, 11th, and 12th for Purvis Granger. That's a fine performance in the 10th.
If you remember, though, 2 weeks ago, Rod Pasteur struck out in 3 10th frames in a row to win his first 3 matches, and he's right back in that same situation again.
It was just like old hat after a while. There you see the graphic, 2 strikes plus 7 pins to win. Rod Pasteur towing the line on lane 42. Needs this one to stay alive.
Another bad break. Nothing that he can do about it. He threw the ball as good as he can throw it, and he's going to come up a loser.
Rod Pasteur asking why, but Purvis Granger is the winner of match number 1, and he'll advance to bowl against Jim Pencak of Highland Heights, Ohio. The Seagram's Premium Wine Cooler Bowling News. Welcome to this week's edition. It used to be tough to make $100,000 on the PBA Tour, but not anymore. At this stage, with 4 tournaments left in the 1986 summer campaign, 3 players have now surpassed the $100,000 barrier. Here's a look now at the money standings through 8 tournaments here now on the summer tour. As a result of capturing last week's Hammer Open, Walter Ray Williams Jr. has now retaken the money lead. Walter Ray now leads Big Steve Cook by more than $9,000. Marshall Holman is currently number 3. Dave Husted, Mark Baker fill out the top 5. Tonight's top seed, Don Genalo, is currently number 6, but regardless of where he finishes here this evening, Don could climb as high as 5th on this year's money list. Brian Voss, along with David Ozio, Tom Kreitz, and Mike Albee, make up the rest of the top 10. Earlier this week at Rose Bowl Lanes, Jim Battaglia collected $800 and an all-expense-paid trip to either Toronto or Montreal for capturing the Pro-Am event. After a 10-month run at the Archer 35th Recreational, the 76th Annual Peterson Classic is now wrapped up, and Chuck Wallace out of Fridley, Minnesota, with an 8-game total of $1620, collects a big check worth $45,000. Detroit area bowling fans will get an opportunity to watch the Lady Pros in action next week. Among those entered at Satellite Bowl in Detroit will be local stars Alita Sill and also Cheryl Daniels. So the ladies in town next week. I'll be back with Mike Durbin and his thoughts on this week's tournament right after this message. ESPN color commentator Mike Durbin. Mike, it doesn't make a difference if the Pros Bowl in the United States or in Canada. They still throw perfect games.
Last week we had 8 perfect games, the week before 4, this week 5 perfect games, headed up by John Flaherty. Mike Jasnow had 1, Ron Palumbi Jr., another junior, Hugh Strong Jr., and Dale Strike. Also a 290 game by Jim Harvey, remember him, and Rod Pasteur had a 290 game. Our weekly stat sheet, whole field 204.7. Lefties averaged 205, almost 206. Righties 204. What you needed to cash was 208, and you needed to make the top 24, 214. Our best match play record was by our leader, Don Genalo, 16-8. Genalo also had the most games over 200 with 35, and Tom Milton had 16 200 games in a row. We had our top 24 this week also, and that was headed up. 6th place was by a Hall of Fame bowler who missed by 1 pin, making our top 5. Johnny Petraglia just missed. Followed up by Mike Edwards from Tulsa. John Gant, who we saw earlier, finished 10th. Pete Couture, veteran, finished 11th. Joe Berardi, another veteran. Dave Husted, 2-time winner this summer, finished 14th. Steady Pete McCordick was 16th. Right on down the list there, Jim Harvey, that we saw earlier with a 297 game, finished 20th. Guppy Troop finished 3rd last week, 21st this week. And Sam Zurich rounded out the field in 24th.
The bowling news has been brought to you by Seagram's Premium Wine Cooler. Purvis Granger has already disposed of Rod Pasteur. In order to be successful on the PBA National Tour, you have to bowl well in the 10th frame. Purvis Granger did, and he advanced after the opening game. 219-201 over roommate Rod Pasteur.
Granger getting 7 strikes in his victory there. The opponent he's going to face next is bouncy Jim Pencak. Jim Pencak, from around my former hometown near Cleveland, has a high backswing, powerful hand release, good balance at the foul line, throws probably the biggest hook of any of our 5 finalists tonight. He wants to use that hook to knock down a lot of pins in this coming up match.
Yes, sir. There's the handshake. And sit back, put your feet up, and watch the revolutions and the action on this first shot.
Gives it a lot of room. And that's why.
The old bone crusher. Nice to start with that solid crush strike.
And you notice how he walks so briskly back off the approach. Purvis Granger from Lafayette, Louisiana, has that slow southern approach, but Pencak from the northern Cleveland.
He is amiable too. I don't think he's ever met a stranger. He'll talk to anybody. Loves to bowl, loves people. And boy, has he bowled well here this week.
Purvis fooled a little bit again. The ball kind of slid on him and didn't finish. Starts with a 5-8. Should be a relatively easy spare. This is similar to the one where he left the dinner bucket. The head pin is going to probably just nick the 2. And the 2, no, it comes back off and the 4-pin hit the 2 is what it did. He got a break there, breaking down that dinner bucket and leaving only 5-8. He can practice on this a little bit. A little slower speed at the spare. He didn't practice. He just made sure of the spare.
Mike, is Purvis continuing to adjust on every shot on lane 42? Lane 41 seems to be the better lane for him, but what about lane 42? He's going to have to solve that puzzle if he expects to win the second match.
It's interesting, too, because every bowler tonight, Purvis didn't have a choice, but every other bowler picked to finish on lane 42.
Purvis has already struck 5 of 7 shots on lane 41, so it's obviously his most productive lane.
Well, he got to finish on it in the first match, and he'll get to finish on it in this match. A little high, busted down. This is lapse in concentration, what I think it is. He was so pumped up to win that first match that he has not gotten his concentration back together for this match. We see it cross over, go for the almost Jersey squasher here.
The what? The Jersey squasher?
Well, it's kind of, you know, the Jersey is on the Brooklyn side, or from what the New Yorkers say there, and just kind of squashes the pins off.
How about a Brooklyn basher or something like that?
I used to call it a snow shovel Brooklyn.
You did?
Yeah.
But you never crossed over that far to the left of the head.
That's how I made my living. That was the old demoralizer shot.
Instead of throwing it in the pocket, you just crossed over on purpose, right?
Well, of course. You had to psych out your opponent a little bit.
Obviously, Jim Pencak would love to win here this evening because it would mean a trip to the Firestone Tournament of Champions. He's yet to win as a pro on the national tour. just rips the finger holes out of it, and another flush shot, this one on lane 42, and Pencak in a hurry has doubled here to open up match number 2.
Finished second last year in the Waukegan Open, second to Bob Chamberlain, and he came charging up there and lost in the title match to Chamberlain. Chamberlain was outstanding that day, but Pencak bowled well all the way up to that final match.
Pencak, a high game this week of 286 and a low effort of 160, 13 and 11 in match play. Keep in mind, he led the 4th and the 5th round
and
of this tournament.
He knocked down, he averaged more pins than anybody else here.
That's right, averaged 224.
Didn't win as many games.
Woo! He's right on that average about now, wouldn't you say, Mike Durbin?
Well, he soaked 3 identical shots, that's for sure.
Now, what's going through Purvis Granger's mind? Obviously, he realizes the guy he's bowling against is dead locked in.
Well, same thing that went through his mind. You know, he started a 4-bagger to start the last match, and he came back to win. So he's not out of this match yet, but he needs to get his concentration back together, forget about winning that first match, and go on to win this one.
There's no time like the present.
See, there's the adjustment for the 2-5, and it's the big adjustment, the double pinnacle, the 4-6-7-10.
In watching Purvis play all the way through the match play portion, Mike, I don't think I saw him that far inside what, 12 or 13 all week long.
Well, he was inside this time, right inside, right on the 1, 2, 3 pocket where he doesn't want to be. He's just going to shoot for 2 here.
Oh, I'll tell you what, and Purvis with a smile on his face delights the crowd. Jim Pencak even threw his towel up in the air. He almost made the double pinochle.
And I said he was only going to shoot for 2. He just nicks the 6-pin here, and it falls straight over to hit the 4. And the 4 sure could have fallen into the 7 to make double pinnacle. I've only seen it made 2 other times in my life, and he almost made it.
Purvis is still thinking to himself how sweet that would have been. Well, last week, Brian Voss converted a very tough split late in his match, the title match against Walter Ray Williams Jr. And this evening, Purvis Granger almost pulled off a miracle, tries to bounce back, and he swishes. Is the messenger pin going to help yet? And so Purvis Granger comes back strong with a strike in the 4th, but right now, Jim Pencak with a commanding 36-pin lead. Shot of Jim Pencak. Perfect through 3 frames, and I do mean perfect. They have been 3 flush strikes. Is it a 4-bagger? Oh, that's a little wide.
Oh.
And boy, the 2-8-10 nearly stood, but only the 10-pin remains.
He's happy with that.
That one was just a touch wide, and not even powerful Jim Pencak could retrieve that shot.
No, that was way out in the boondocks. See if he can make the single pin spare. Cross lane at the 10-pin. Straighten it out, throw it hard. That's what he does. And he had it measured just right.
As Mike mentioned, Pencak averaged better than 220 this week, and coming into the televised finals this evening, I asked him, what is he going to have to do to win the game on national television?
That's right. I got to get out here and be aggressive and just throw the ball like I have all week, and I expect to just go right through the field and win.
I wonder if he's really that confident.
Like I said, he likes to kid around a little bit, have a little fun.
Is this in a lot of room, too? It sure comes back, doesn't it?
Like the old Labrador Retriever. Send it out and watch it come home. Wow. That's demoralizing sitting on the bench, isn't it, to watch a guy?
You don't watch that. You just don't watch those balls.
You just look down at the ground?
Yeah, right. You concentrate on your game. I had to learn that. I couldn't watch those big hooks.
Whew. Man, oh, man. Talk about pin action. Purvis Granger trailing by 35, but he trailed by 20 pins in the opening match and came back to win.
For a double, leaves the 10-pin, and he's in big trouble now.
It doesn't seem as if his ball, Mike, is really hitting, almost as if he's got it started too far inside in the oil.
Well, he's playing similar to where he was the first game. He just has not gotten the adrenaline going, has not gotten anything going to get him excited inside, to get that heartbeat pumping up faster.
You mean there's such a thing as being too relaxed on the championship round?
There's such a thing as not being intense enough. And he was very intense the first game, but he doesn't seem to be nearly as intense this game. The trouble is the frames go by quickly and you run out of game very fast.
It was just 3 weeks ago that Purvis survived the championship round in the Miller Lite Challenge. And Dave Husted, the old baptism of fire there. Husted shot 290 against him, and that is rather tough to deal with your first trip out of the gate.
I remember not my first time on national television, although that was traumatic enough, but my first match in the 24-man finals, I bowled Jim St. John, and he shot 298 at me.
Did you win?
No, I didn't. 4-pin by Granger, and it's hard to get something going when the corner pins keep standing.
Purvis Granger out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Earnings this year, $18,845. His career earnings, $29,845. As we mentioned, Purvis right in the thick of that Rookie of the Year race. He defeated Rod Pasteur in the opening game, 219-201. So he has accomplished one thing here this evening, Mike. He's captured his first game on national television.
Trouble is, that might have been his goal.
Yeah, but you have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere, it's true.
I mean, realistically, do you go out there thinking you're going to start in the number 5 spot and win if you're a rookie? I suppose some of them do.
Well, Pasteur almost did a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And right now, Pencak is certainly thinking of winning from the number 3 spot.
Pencak has had a history, Mike, of when he gets off to a fast start of bowling very well in the championship round.
I've seen him do it before. He can certainly rev it up and throw strikes. It's just a matter of whether he can maintain that intensity.
Well, he leads by 46 with a double up in the 5th and the 6th. This year, it's been a down year for the 27-year-old right-hander. He's earned less than $8,000. Last year won better than 27, so he's behind schedule. But should he go all the way to the top this evening, 18,000s
puts him
in
right
the number
back,
1 slot.
Right back on par with last year if he would win. And he certainly looks like he's going to win this game.
He's fired up.
His carry percentage is 100%. Every time he's hit the 1-3 pocket, he's struck it. But every time he's hit it, he's been dead flush.
Leads by 56 pins.
And right now, Purvis Granger is, what is he, potential 223 still if he would go all the way. And that's the situation. He just has to strike out.
Little boy lift on that shot on the right-hand lane, and it paid off as Purvis strikes on lane 42. And at this point, you're right, it looks as if he's a bit dejected at this point, realizing he's certainly out of the match for all intents and purposes. But if he could bounce back and string some strikes, he could put a little pressure on Pencak, maybe.
I find it interesting the way he kind of just meanders back off the approach, and Pencak just is back off like a bullet.
He's not in a hurry to go anywhere.
And the 10 pin. And that is definitely Pencak now is just keeping his intensity up to go on to bowl Tom Milton.
Biding his time. Pencak last night, an interesting note, was the leader of this tournament after 41 games, led Don Genalo by 18 sticks and lost in the position round game and dropped from 1st to 3rd as Milton also went around him. So he has something to prove here this evening.
Well, sometimes things like that can be a blessing in disguise. I can remember back in 1972, I dropped from 2nd to 3rd in the position round at the Firestone Tournament of Champions, and then came on to win the first time at the Firestone from the 3rd position. So sometimes those things that seem so bad the night before turn out the next day to be blessings in disguise.
I know, Mike, you'd obviously like to bowl out of the number 1 position, but is there, oh, I don't know, how do you say this? Is there a best position in the championship round to come from?
Either the 2 or 3 spot would definitely be the best position. As Pencak gets one more, probably the number 2 position. You win that first game, you're pumped up, you know the lanes. The other guy coming on doesn't know the lanes yet. You only have one more game to win and win the title. If you can win that first match from the number 2 position, I guess it would probably be the most advantageous.
Should Jimmy Pencak take this one right off the sheet through the 10th, 11th, and 12th, he would shoot 279. Granger has to lead the league in rookies with high game shot at him.
He certainly does.
Who was it? Somebody told me that 3 weeks in a row, rookies had made their telecast for the first time, and their opponents had shot a total of 860 against them.
As Pencak almost left the 7-10, the messenger knocked out the 10 pin. It really doesn't matter at this stage of the game. Well, I told you these rookies are getting their baptism of fire.
But 860? What's that an average? That's like what? Well, 280?
It's more than that.
Oh, jeez. It's too many, right? Pencak completely in control at this point. He is in an excellent position to advance into yet another round as he leads by 65 pins here. And obviously he'll be ready to bowl Tom Milton here in just a moment or so. Next week on ESPN, the $110,000 Greater Buffalo Open from Cheektowaga, New York. Mike?
Always one of my favorite spots at Thruway Lanes there in Cheektowaga.
Live on Wednesday, August 6th, 9 p.m. Eastern.
From there, we head on down to Erlanger, Kentucky for the Seniors Touring Pro Doubles.
And then, of course, in the Hall of Fame city, the $115,000 seniors, it's the Kessler Classic PBA Championship. Coming up next, it's Mike Durbin's bowling tip on how to convert the 5-10 split. Okay, Mike, you can take over now.
Last week, we saw the pocket split, the 5-7, and how to make it. This week, we're going to deal with another pocket split, and that's the 5-10 and the combinations of the 5-10, that is the 5-8-10. And again, the reason for leaving this pocket split is that the ball hit weakly. It didn't drive through the pins to carry out that 5-pin or 5-8. It deflected off to the right, if you're left-hander the other way, and left that pocket split. Well, once I've left it, what do I do now? Well, my first reaction usually when I leave the 5-10 or the 5-8-10 is one of embarrassment. And just share a word of personal history here. In 1968 in Denver, Colorado, I made national television there and was playing an angle deep inside close to the fourth arrow. And along about the middle of the game when I was bowling Tita Semez, I left the 5-8-10 on national television. So don't feel too embarrassed. Even the best of us can leave it and on national television. Once I've left it, though, the best way to quiet my tormentors is to concentrate on making it. If I do that, they'll shut up pretty quickly. The question again comes to mind, how do I make it? Well, again, I recommend shooting it, again, off the strike target. And the strike target, as we've learned so often in the last few weeks, is the second arrow. I've been standing on board 21, and I leave the 5-10. What's the move? The move is 5 boards to the right, over to board 16, and again, I shoot that second arrow, the strike target. And again, the only exception to this is if I'm in a center that has a lot more oil in the middle of the lane than it does on the outside, and I need to add 2 or 3 boards to this move then. Let's see how it works. I set myself up again on board 16 very carefully. And I'm going to throw the same shot at the spare as I did at the strike. I'm going to try and hit the 5-pin on the left side and slide it into the 10. Here we go. Well, nobody's perfect. I didn't make it, so I didn't quiet my tormentors. I guess the best way to correct the 5-10 or the 5-8-10 is not to leave it. Work on getting a little bit better hand release, a little bit more fingers in the ball, and you won't leave it so often. Next week, we're going to look at the 4-5 and the 4-5-7.
Tom Milton certainly has his work cut out because Jim Pencak exploded for a 247 victory over 169 Purvis Granger. So Milton is next in line, Mike Durbin, and he's running into a meat grinder at this point.
And Tom Milton has kind of changed his style. He's a very upright style, as we see right here. What he has done, as we see his 5-step delivery, is cut down on the amount of turn that he has on the ball and try to increase speed and stay behind the ball better so that he throws the ball on a straighter line to the pocket. He's been having trouble being as consistent as he wants to be with the big hook, so he's trying to cut down on that hook and get a medium-sized one.
Tom Milton, 6'3", 190 pounds, 30 years of age. And, of course, bowling out of St. Petersburg, Florida. There's the handshake. Jim Pencak of Highland Heights, Ohio. That's a suburb of Cleveland. Really off to a very quick start. And Tom Milton, I have a feeling, would like to start quickly with a strike here just to let Pencak know that he can do the same.
Well, that last practice, all he threw was just perfect. He wishes that had been the start of the match now.
No way you could fake out Harry Golden, could you? And just, oh, that was the first shot, Goose. Didn't you know that? Probably not. Harry Golden, of course, the PBA's national tournament director. Opening shot for Milton. This one a little bit wide and far from a strike.
And we see the difference between practice and when the lights come on here. Just a little bit tougher once they turn those lights on. The 1-2-4. If he can make the spare, help him relax and get it a little bit better under control.
It's been about the last 6 months. Tom Milton told me that he has worked consistently on cutting down the hook, on getting the ball a little more into play, and obviously it's paying off.
It's interesting because I spent all these years trying to get a hook. Ooh, and he fails to convert the 1-2-4. Opens the door for Pencak right away.
Jim Pencak, the strongest player physically on the telecast, no doubt about that.
Let's see if he can avoid the pitfall and the mistake that Purvis Granger fell into in that second match of being satisfied with winning one match and going on to looking to win the tournament as the goal. And he gets it right back too. So Milton gets 9 in the first frame, and he's probably going to be leading after one frame.
Yeah, that's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Chop a spare and end up leading.
Pencak right through the heart of the pins and leaves the double pinnacle the same as we saw Purvis Granger do in the first match. Purvis almost made it, so I'm not going to say anything about him just shooting for 2 here.
Purvis converting 3 out of the 4, left only the 7 pin. That would have been something. I know that that's never been picked up on national television before, has it?
And the 4-6 hasn't either. It's just too bad the 7 pin was there. As he gets 2, 8, and he's going to trail by 1 after 1 frame.
So both players are with the mistake in the opening frame.
And Pencak just seems a little tighter suddenly in this second match than he did in the opening match.
Jim Pencak with 8 strikes in his opening victory over Purvis Granger. And would love to get back into the pocket with his shot on lane 41.
That's the way to do it.
Came back with an excellent shot, very strong shot. That'll settle his nerves just a little bit.
Milton, a very cool player. I've seen him strike out in the 10th frame to win tournaments. I saw him do it against Earl Anthony in Windsor Locks, Connecticut a few years ago in 1983. Pressure doesn't seem to bother him. That's that straighter shot he's looking for right there.
1983 was a very big year. He won his 3 PBA titles that year and had a great year money-wise. Since then has tried to come back and match that performance. And I think you're right. It seems like a lot of players that come out on the PBA National Tour, Mike, that maybe come out hooking the ball a little more, and the more they bowl on the tour, the more years they spend out here, the more they starting to straighten it out a little bit just to keep it in play so that you can develop some consistency.
Even the great Mark Roth has cut down on the hook that he had 10 years ago.
Milton looking for a double. And he's got it. Boy, that was a perfect shot on the left-hand lane. That's the way to bounce back. That's, I guess, the way the professionals handle things.
And the experience. Milton's a veteran. He's been there before. He's had opens before. He's had to bounce back from them before. So see if Pencak can match that experience of Milton.
Jim Pencak has been a PBA member now 6 years. He has 300 games in his career. Last one shot at the Hammer Open just last week.
Well, they settled down after that first frame.
The crowds this week at the Rose Bowl lanes in Windsor, Ontario have been excellent. The fans really enjoy professional bowling up here in the Northern Country.
A little extra time to just blew that air out there. Just take the lead right now. Knocks that 10 pin out of there nice, didn't he? Really
So
knocked it out
after
of
a
there.
miscue in the opening frame, Jim Pencak has come back very strong with strikes in the second, third, and the fourth. Pretty impressive list of past winners here at the Rose Bowl lanes. Last year, of course, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Billy Young Jr. Boy, some great champs there.
Maybe the most exciting match was Jake's beating Zurich 157 to 156. And we see Milton and Pencak, two contrasting styles. Pencak with his knees bent all the way and the high backswing. Look at that, head high. Milton upright, low backswing, leaning forward. Look at the difference at the next to last step there. As they come through, both with long slides, left arms out for balance, good follow through, good finish positions on both of them.
Different strokes for different folks. Results always end up the same. Lots of strikes. Milton working on a double. Trails by 9. Could take the lead back again. He strikes on the right-hand lane.
Oh. We're going to have to start calling him Straighty Tom from now on, I'll tell you.
Both players have picked up the pace after opening in their first frames. Have come back with turkeys, both of them.
One pin. This is the lead. Milton has it.
Tom Milton averaging 223 on the button this week. Had a high game of 289 and a low game of 169. And he also matched Don Genalo for the best match play record. 16 wins, 8 losses this week.
Good speed. And gets the light hit. 4 in a row.
Mike, do you think his confidence is the same with the ball that doesn't hook nearly as much as, say, when he used to crank it up a little bit in pressure situations? Do you think he's questioning himself during those times?
It's a learning process, Dan. What it really is, you know, never having thrown the big hook, I never went through that. I know that I did vary my hand positions and throw it from straight to straighter.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is his first chance to bowl on national television with the smaller hook. Pencak on the right alley, and he swishes the rack. And both professionals now are on 4-bagger.
Exciting match right here. Neither player giving an inch, responding to each to the other, and we'll see who cracks first.
There you get a graphic shot. Beautiful shot there, Tom Milton. That's the amazing thing. The pros are only, what, 3 or 4 feet apart, and you're very much aware of what the other professional is doing, although a lot of the pros don't watch the other one's bowl, do they, Mike?
Well, especially on television. You just don't want to see him get that good break when you figure you're not going to get it.
He's out of it clean, but the 2-8 remains. And so Jim Pencak will have his work cut out for him with
tough spare here.
Tough spare on the left-hand side. Nice round of applause here from the fans, appreciative of the 4-bagger.
Just a little added speed on that particular shot. The ball wouldn't make it back. He's thinking about this spare of how he's going to shoot it, whether he's going to shoot it off his strike line or shoot it from the left. Looks like he's going to shoot it off the strike line. Makes it perfectly. Nice shot. Good cover.
And a sigh of relief for Jim Pencak, who is now 5-3 overall on national television, averaging a little better than 211 or 212. There's a shot. Tom Milton's lovely wife. She looks a little concerned.
Trying for one more. Light. Ooh, a good break there.
Well, that would bring a smile to her face, and a good break for her husband. And now it's 5 in a row for Tom Milton, who now leads by 13. Both players have cranked out the strikes here in the semifinal game. Of course, Don Genalo out of Perrysburg, Ohio, is next in line. And whoever faces him will bowl for a top prize of $18,000.
Milton leading by 13, can increase it to 23 with one more. Oh.
He liked it all the way as soon as it left his hand. And there's Darlene. Yep. She says, okay, Thomas, much better shot that time. She likes it when it's flush in the pocket. Those light hits are tough on the wives.
The splits, those double pinnacles are tough on the wives.
Those are the real tough ones, yeah. Boy, I don't think most people realize what the wives and the relatives go through watching the professionals each week on the national tour. Just so tough to get to the championship round.
Pencak trying to counter punch on his own and punches right through the head pin and gets a disastrous break.
What is that? That's a 3, 4, 6, 7. Yeah.
You don't see that very often. That's makeable though, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, he's got to shoot it like a baby split. He wants to hit the 3-pin thin on the right, slide it into the 4-7. It is a makeable split.
Sure, no problem.
Right, no problem.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
From the left, over probably third arrow, hard and straight. Hits the 3-pin 2 flush, and he's open. And Tom Milton is taking a commanding lead now.
And the nice thing about it is the fact that he's been able to sit on the bench and do so. Of course, he's applied heavy pressure with a 6-bagger starting from the 2nd and running all the way through the 7th. So now he leads by 39.
Pencak still potential 230 if he would strike all the way out, and he's in that situation. He has to. He backs to the wall, the old cliche.
Fighting for his life right now. And rips another shot on the left-hand lane and a ringing 10-pin on lane 41. Haven't seen many of those.
Well, it just seems like when you get down like that, they want to give you a little swift kick too, and when he needs to get something going, he leaves the solid 10.
Jim Pencak, sponsored by Dickie Grant and Jeff Mraz of Akron, Ohio. A couple of pretty fair bowlers in their own rights.
At the 10-pin, has the spare. And he has to hope for a mistake by Tom Milton right now. And Tom Milton is definitely one of the type of guys that usually doesn't beat himself. Some pretty impressive high games there.
And he might add to the list.
Yeah, he's still potential 279 here. Oh, did that ball hold? Tom says, hey, that's what those straight shooters have had going for them all these weeks.
Yep, it's starting to pay off at this point. One other note to pass along. We're saddened to report the passing of longtime PBA Midwest Regional Director Don McLaren of St. Louis. In his younger days, he bowled with the world-famed Budweiser bowling team. He also won the ABC doubles, paired with the great Billy Whalou.
And I sat in many an executive board meeting with the PBA with Don McLaren, and he had humor and always brought, when he gave his report, everybody always enjoyed it.
He was always excited. No question about that. We'll miss him very much. Tom Milton continues his streak. And Mike, will he save anything for the title match? He is now working on an 8-bagger.
Well, that's what he's wondering. Tom Milton is a different type player. He goes along in an even keel, I would think, more than a Jim Pencak. Pencak got all charged up after winning that. He's bowled well this match. He's had 2 poor shots and had the full penalty both times.
I know one thing. Don Genalo is hoping that Tom Milton runs out of strikes. Genalo is next in line on the stepladder format. Opening game, Rod Pasteur was defeated 219-201 by his rookie roommate, Purvis Granger. And then Jim Pencak came along and he eliminated Purvis Granger in a big hurry. And now Tom Milton doing a number on Pencak here in the semifinal match. I wonder if those pins flinch at all, Mike, when they see that train rolling in.
Pencak can go all the way for 220. And interestingly enough, he can wind up with 7 strikes in this match. He had 8 the last one and get crushed.
Mike, was the key in the 6th frame when Pencak, well, quit striking and ended up with just a 4-bagger? Is that where do you think maybe the key turning point was in the match?
Well, the key turning point as he leaves the pocket 7-10 was when he left the double pinochle in the 7th frame.
And so Tom Milton, an automatic winner. And he'll just go ahead and finish out now in the 10th. And he'll bowl his good buddy, Don Genalo. Oh, my, is Milton locked in? He's sort of laughing as he walks off the approach now. But I guess when you got 9-10 in a row, life looks pretty rosy.
And he's wondering, gee, if I could have just had that practice shot that went for a strike, count instead of that first errant shot that I threw.
Jim Pencak is now finished up and shoots a game of 207. Milton will do likewise.
Trying to wrap up the semifinal game. All of our games, it seems, this summer on ESPN, Mike, have been so close, right down to the 10th frame, and we've had a couple of lopsided affairs here this evening. Milton laughs it off, as does wife Darlene, but what the heck, you can leave a solid 5, and when you're going to shoot 268, nobody says much to you.
He says, well, those straight shooters leave those 5. I know just how he feels.
Well, he'll probably move a little to the right now, right, with his feet.
He's not moving at all.
Art Trask, our statistician, obviously throws it kind of straight, and Art says, oh, yeah, he'll move to the right. Oh, come on up there, and he does. So a marvelous performance in the semifinal game, and the fans obviously enjoying the action as Tom Milton comes up with a beautiful 268 game. And there you see it, 268 to 207, a commanding victory for the bowler from St. Petersburg, Florida. And of course, coming up next, he'll have to bowl against Don Genalo. Genalo taking over the top seed position in the very final game of last night's match play portion.
Our tournament leader this week is Don Genalo, another upright style 5-step player, has all of our players on the telecast tonight. Pushes the ball up, very straight arm swing, good knee bend. Left arm way back, follow through comes straight up. Good position at the foul line there. Don is exceptionally tough in the clutch. I've watched him strike out in 10th frames to win tournaments before. He did it this year at the Miller Lite tournament against the great Mark Roth. He needed a double in the 10th to win that match, and he did it. So we have 2 players here that are super tough in the clutch. And by the way, Denny, these are the 2 oldest players on the telecast, and they're bowling each other for the title.
Sure, so. Sure. Let's see. Milton's, what, 30?
Yeah.
And Genalo's 28.
Well, Genalo looks older, though.
Oh, jeez. Really, really a fine player in the clutch. Opening shot of the title game. Genalo didn't waste much time. Almost tries to run it out and then thinks the better of it, and is pleased that only the 10-pin stands. Uh-oh, and he gets re-racked.
Oh, the pin knocked. Because we're running short of time anyway. The sweep knocked the 10-pin off of there and has to be respotted. Well, what will be happening right now is Harry Golden, our tournament director, is probably screaming frantically for the people in the back to respot the 10-pin as we see the sweep come down there and knock off the pins.
There's our good friend, Harry Golden. 25 years on the job here.
And Harry never gets excited, huh?
Not unless he misses a 2-footer on the putting green, and I've seen him miss a couple of those as of late.
Did you play with him today?
Oh, yeah, we played. It was exciting.
Has the 10-pin.
Genalo stretches out. I think that's what I like most about his game. The fact, Mike, every shot, he is solid at the line, stretches out, nice follow-through, always gets the ball on line.
By the way, Denny, have you heard how our winner last week, Walter Ray, is doing with the horseshoe tournament this week?
As a matter of fact, Ainsworth, Nebraska, is where the World Championships are being held after the opening round. Walter Ray Williams Jr. is first with 87% ringers. And, of course, the tournament runs throughout the week. So Walter Ray looking for a double victory.
And is he going to get it? Yes, he is. Maybe things are going Tom Milton's way. He hasn't won since 1983.
Ask and ye shall receive, Mike. What pin helped him out here?
Let's see if we can see. The 3-pin goes to the wall, and that is the 3-pin that comes rolling back around and is going to knock over the 4.
Took its time. But it beat the rack.
He was it. There we see him. Tom was happy with that result.
Sure, he knew he had it all the time.
Right. Never a doubt, as we say.
Looking for a double.
Right.
Open up a bit of a lead.
Light. And both players leave the soft 10 on lane 41. And fellas, guys that throw straight, if you're going to throw it straight like that, Tom, now you're going to leave a lot of those, I'll tell you.
All right, so let's put you on the spot. Are you a proponent of throwing the ball fairly straight, or should you hook it a little bit, or what?
Well, it seems I could never hook it that much. I'm definitely a proponent of throwing the ball straighter. So.
That was the interesting note about tonight's finals. Had a left-hander that hooks it pretty good, a right-hander that hooks it, Jim Pencak, a couple of straight players, so a wide variety, a wide assortment to watch here this evening on ESPN. Milton spares in the second, and I have a feeling that this is going to be sort of a grudge match all the way down the line. Neither of these guys gives away very much. Don Genalo with 5 career PBA titles. He has won 4 of those titles from the top seed position.
Just like that. And interestingly enough, the one title that he lost from the #1 position was a few years ago in Los Angeles, or in Torrance, against Jimmy Pritz. when Genalo needed the first strike in the 10th to win. And we'll get back to that thought in just a minute as we see his good finish here. Follow through coming up, left arm back. Good balance at the foul line. But in any case, he needed a strike in the 10th and a good count to beat Pritz. He got the strike. He left as he gets a double, a light hit.
Really enjoys the title matches. Really enjoys the pressure. I talked to him before the telecast this evening. He said, Denny, there is no place I'd rather be than in the top seed position. Milton set that shot a little bit short, knew it, I think, the entire time, and got away with a solid 4, and it might have been worse.
Anyway, to finish that thought, he needed that as Milton's ball goes into the 1-3 pocket, leaves the 4-pin. Genalo got the strike, left the Greek church on the next shot, needed to get just 2 of them to win the title, thought that he had needed the second strike in the 10th to win, picked up the ball in anger and just threw it down. It went in the channel. He got 5 out and lost by 2 pins. And Milton just barely makes the spare.
That's a very tough lesson to learn. But I guess you do things out there, Mike, sometimes in the heat of battle that, as you look back on, may not be in your best interest.
There's the score. Genalo leading by 11. Well, Tom, he certainly learned that he needed to check the score after that. His problem wasn't with the heart, it was with his addition.
These two players have met in a title match before. It was the 1983 Denver Open, and Tom Milton prevailed. And he comes back with a rock-solid shot in the 4th frame. But he finds himself in a position where he trails by 11 pins to top seed Don Genalo.
There's the prize money for tonight's tournament. Rod Pasteur took home $4,500. Granger with $5,500. Pencak earned an even $7,000. The loser of this match, $9,500. And the winner will add $18,000 to his bank account.
Should Don Genalo win here this evening, Mike, he would, well, at that point, pass up his best year overall on the PBA Tour. He's already collected nearly $70,000, so he would vault into the number 5 slot with better than 88.
And give him a chance for that magic figure of $100,000.
He's well within range. Oh, and he gets the high hit on lane 42, and he thanks his lucky stars once again.
Genalo is an amazing player, Dan. I crossed with him at the Tournament of Champions this year and had a chance to watch where he stood and where he threw. And I would go to a pair of lanes, and one lane would be hooking 2 or 3 boards more for me than it was than the other lane, and he played them both the same. I watched him go through, and I never have seen a player since Billy Hardwick that can trip the 4-pin as well as Don Genalo.
Was never lower than 14th in this year's Molson Golden Bowling Challenge, and stepped into the spotlight in the final game last night. Tries to keep the pressure on, and he does with a beautiful shot in the 5th frame. So Genalo's pumped up, and at this point pretty much wired in.
And we see why he's won from the number 1 position so many times. He just comes right out and takes command, doesn't fish around to find the lanes, and plus he has the ability to come down when it's the 10th frame. He can strike there to win. I wonder why he doesn't win more often. I really do.
Took a couple of weeks off and worked a few fundamentals, and also worked on his mental attitude. He told me that's been the key so far this week, and boy, it's worked. Milton right now in the grinder needs to strike.
Has to strike, and does.
Perfect shot. And Tom Milton, coming into this telecast this evening, is not only bowling for himself but also for a very close relative.
Well, Denny, my only nephew, they found a brain tumor right before the doubles, and it was operated on, and all the prognoses are real good right now. He's going through the recovery stage, and I just wanted to wish him the best, and I'm going to try and do my best just for him tonight. He's back home in Washington, D.C. His name is Michael Amoroso.
Well, Michael, this is for you. A little wide, but gets it anyway. And Milton says, hey, this match isn't over yet.
I have a feeling Michael might be jumping up and down in the living room at this point, because Uncle Tom is coming back strong with a turkey in the 4th, 5th, and the 6th. So the pressure once again back on Don Genalo. And there's the wave goodbye. Genalo knew from the very instant that that ball left his hands, it had no chance to get to the 1-3 pocket. Don't forget, Sports Center will be following immediately after bowling here this evening.
Just didn't get the lift with the fingers that he wanted here. Threw it a little wide. The ball doesn't grab the lane because he didn't lift the ball the way he wanted to. He's fortunate he left only the 2-4-5. Has the spares. He kind of mockingly runs it out. He probably had trouble with that spare this week.
Genalo's having fun out there, and most guys would cringe under the pressure of the title match, but not Don Genalo. He likes to bowl from the #1 position.
I think the key to bowling so well out of the top spot is that it's just one game, and I come out and put everything I have into the one effort, because if you lose, that's it, and if you win, you take home everything.
And he's thrown it out wide, breaks it down, leaves only the 2-pin, and it seems like Milton's triple here has put a little pressure on Genalo. He hasn't thrown the last 2 shots the way he did the other 4.
I think you're exactly right, Mike. There are no gimmies in these title matches. You really have to work hard to win PBA tournaments.
At the 2-pin, no problem.
So Genalo is really, realistically, Mike, sort of backed up a little bit and come back to Tom Milton. And Milton right now could take the lead by 3 if he continues to strike and ends up with a 4-bagger.
And Milton made an adjustment on lane 42. He moved a little bit left with his feet, I think, and his line, just so he'd be solid in the pocket.
Coming up next, Chris Berman and Greg Gumbel are standing by in Bristol, Connecticut, waiting to update you on the latest in the world of sports, and we'll be joining them momentarily. Hang in there, guys. I'm sure they're probably hoping for a few more strikes as well.
To take the lead. Ooh, 4-pin. He thought it was dead flush. That's as angry as I've ever seen Tom Milton get. He just is an even-tempered person.
Really a great finesse shot here, Mike.
Oh, it looked good all the way, and just a little finish right here, and the 2-pin flies right around the 4. Milton spins around. Right now he has to concentrate on making the spare, and he trails by 8 with 3 frames to go. No problem.
This has been a highly competitive tournament all week long. And the culmination here in the title match, once again, a very close match.
There's Darlene holding on to, I guess, a lucky bear.
A lucky bear, yeah.
It looks like a little bear, doesn't it?
He looks worn out to me. I wonder if he's gone through all 42 games.
Right now, Genalo's got his head down and his knees almost. He's not watching Milton at all.
That's got to be an agonizing position. You almost listen for the pins, don't you?
He's sneaking a peek. Soft 10. Milton knew that he did not finish and get the lift the way he wanted to at that particular shot. He knew it wouldn't carry. And you can feel those things.
I think that's one other thing that a lot of times bowling fans don't get an idea. These professionals have such a fine touch. They know immediately upon letting that ball go what it's going to do, for the most part. It comes from just years of practice.
That's why Milton, in the previous frame, thought sure it was a strike. He was fooled on the result there. This one he wasn't. Has the 10-pin, trails by 9.
Milton with a possible 237. But on the other hand, Don Genalo now shooting in the 8th. Could shoot 246.
Genalo looking to get back on track. Threw this one better.
Much better. Would you believe that these guys are good friends?
It's just a difference, though, that if Milton had kept striking, you know, it's just easier when that other guy's not applying that tremendous heat on you. But right now we're in the 9th frame. He's up by 9, as we can see, 166 to 157. Can increase it to 19. This is where Genalo shines, but it is also where Milton shines. Looks good. Ooh, solid 10 right there. Couldn't have thrown it much better.
Those will send you home in a hurry. That was really to take control of the match, too.
His destiny is not his own right now. He must make this. But if he makes this, the best he can get is 236. As he has it, Milton can strike out for 237 and could win it.
In just a couple of minutes, we'll be heading back to Bristol, Connecticut. Chris Berman and Greg Gumbel standing by to update you on the latest on Sports Center, running just a couple of minutes over here this evening from Windsor, Ontario. And, of course, the boys will have all the latest results in baseball and, of course, updates from the U.S. Festival down in Houston, Texas. I know I'm sure they're probably chafing at the bit, too, Mike. You know how they love to get those scores on.
Milton gets the light hit. Genalo knows that his fate is not his own. It's up to Tom Milton right now. Asking for a re-rack in the 10th frame. Gets it. He's had 2. This is his 3rd one. This is the last one that he gets. He's allowed 3 in the game. This shot right now is to take the lead. I hate to say this as we're running late, but we do have the possibility, potential of a tie.
I had a feeling you were going to bring that up.
We see the score there, 186 to 177. This is to take the lead right now. Good speed. Oh, boy, he threw it well and left the 10 pin. Genalo could not see what was left. He heard the crowd react, had to look around Milton to see the 10 pin. Genalo's checking the score out right now. Milton
with a spare and also a strike, Milton would shoot 217.
Right.
If he converts the spare, all he does is force Genalo to spare in the 10th frame, right?
That's correct.
To win.
That's right. Cross lane at the 10 pin. And he has it.
Boy, Milton has really bowled well. As his wife.
Well, that's Genalo's wife, Mary, looking on there.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say. Oh, she was applauding the effort, nevertheless. Don, I think, eyeing the scoreboard. We've already alluded to the mistake he made in the past. And you can better believe he'll know what he needs in the 10th to win.
Milton needs at least 8 to make him mark.
Oh,
ooh, and he gets 7. He's going to finish up with 214.
Jiminy Christmas, what a tough break that is. 214.
If Genalo would get 9 and miss the spare, we'd have a tie.
Right.
If he gets some kind of split and doesn't convert it, or an open, Milton will be the winner. But Milton right now is sitting there thinking that he's lost, and Genalo, something's wrong.
Has something on his shoe, looked like a piece of lint or tape. Standing by at Sports Center, Chris Berman and Greg Gumbel. And we'll be with those 2 fine gentlemen in just a moment or so. Genalo needs a mark to win. A strike would lock him up.
That's the best kind. That's why he's so tough.
Came right down to the 10th frame, needing a mark, and Don Genalo put the ball right where he had to in the 1-3 pocket, and he strikes. And there is his aunt, Martha Cavola. And she is very happy indeed for Don Genalo, the winner here of the $125,000 Molson Golden Bowling Challenge.